You make Cracker Barrel number one in the Ozarks. Phone lines are open now at 577-7000 or 800-765-KTTS.
Good morning and welcome back. Of course, you're listening to Cracker Barrel on today's KTTS. I am Josh Marsh. Happy to be sitting in with you, my esteemed and lovely assistant, Lora Beck, answering your phone calls, ready to take them. I'm going to give you that number right now in case you want to weigh in on some of the issues we've talked about so far or introduce a brand new one, because that is very possible. I don't want anyone to think that I try to monopolize a conversation. I just present ideas to talk about, and then you guys can totally dash those and say, no, I'd rather talk about this. And that is fine, and I support it. 577-7000. That's a good number to call. Also, 1-800-765-KTTS. So that's 577-7000 or 1-800-765-KTTS. I'll read that a few more times here in a little bit. Also, twitter.com/KTTSCB. That is our Twitter. It has all of our info on it as well as our email address. So in case you do not want to complain here, you can go there and complain, and I can read those on the air happily. Also, you can Twitter me, and I will address that as well. I have it up and running, ready to go. Now, as we just got off the phone talking with several gyms and a dentist concerned about, kind of along the same lines where we've been building up to this. The last few things were topics about Notre Dame, concerned about the protests happening there and why they're happening. And some of them have to do with, I guess what I would consider a tiny baby. Other people might call it a fetus. But it looks like the things are starting to change a little bit. Now, this could switch right back, but this is something interesting that I wanted to bring up. And you folks, I'd like you to weigh in on it if you want to. That is, it's a poll. It's not a new poll, but it is a poll that happens just about every year. Well, it does happen every year. Gallup poll. Some of you guys are familiar with the Gallup poll. Yes, no, maybe so. It now finds there is a slight majority of Americans who call themselves pro-life, and that's regarding abortion. Now, this shows that a majority of Catholics once again consider them as pro-life, while the number of Americans who think abortion should be legal under any circumstance, well, that's gone down. And it's interesting to mention this because this is the first time it's happened in 15 years. For 15 years, it's been quite the other way. Now, this is just a little bit of a margin, but we're going to look at it right now. The Gallup poll was conducted from May 7th to May 10th, and that was of this year. And it reported that 51% of Americans now call themselves pro-life, while only 42% call themselves pro-choice. And we have self-described pro-lifers that have never made up a majority of survey. This is the first time it's happened in a long, long time. So definitely interested in what you guys are thinking about with this. Go ahead and give me a call, 577-7000, 1-800-765-KTTS. We can talk about that if you like. But, yeah, there's it's interesting that this has happened, and maybe you guys perhaps don't want to directly talk about this issue, but what I'm curious to know is if this is classically, stereotypically divided as if you're pro-life, you are a conservative. If you are pro-choice, you are a liberal. So in the midst of having a liberal president, a liberal Congress, and a liberal Senate majority, why are we seeing this change now? Why are we seeing it in this time frame? And I guess that's what has me awfully curious and wanting to know why. I don't know, and I'm sure you guys have better insights than I do, and that's why I want to hear yours. Why now are we seeing, for the first time since this poll's been taken, them switching and going and saying now 51% pro-life as compared to down to 42? All right, we're going to go to the phone, and that's going to be John, and he wants to talk about, I believe, hypocrisy. Good morning, John. You're on Cracker Barrel.
Good morning.
What's on your mind?
The same people that are call themselves pro-life are also pro-war most of the time.
I cannot guarantee that.
And pro-torture and isn't it mostly a partisan thing, you think?
I wouldn't say so. I would not. I mean, you're going to have your classic lines that are drawn, and people are going to get behind those. But I think if you look at people who consider themselves conservative, they're pretty sick with the Republican Party.
Yeah, I'd say so. But it seems to me like the same people I've noticed that are always going on about stop abortions and I'm pro-life and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're behind Bush and Cheney and Roe when they were starting this war. and are still behind it, I guess, and think we ought to catch people that, that disagree with us and torture the hell out of them, and find out what they know. And I mean, I think the whole thing is more of a partisan thing.
Okay,
I don't think those people care so much about little children as they do about punishing sin.
So you think this is, I guess, a religious agenda?
Yes, of course it is.
Okay. So what do you think, John? Why this rise in numbers? While we're seeing Democrats in all the big offices. Why this switch?
I don't know. Those polls, I think it depends on who you ask. You can ask the right questions to get the right answers.
Right, but I mean, in the past years, they've asked these questions, and this is the first time they've seen an increase. And I'm wondering, why do you think that is?
I don't have any idea.
But I mean, do you think the majority of the Conservative Party is? Would you say? I guess trying to put this in the right phrasing. They're motivated completely by wanting to persecute people. I mean,
I don't think they're wanting to persecute people. I think they want to punish sinful women.
Punish sinful women.
Yes,
that's the goal.
yes.
Okay.
It seems to me like, because if you suggest maybe helping people with their medical bills, poor people, and helping little kids and stuff, they're totally against that.
Mm-hmm.
They're on their own. Let them starve if their parents don't have any money or can't afford medical care. But I mean, it's hypocritical. This country's very hypocritical.
John, I'm going to ask you.
We say one thing and promote another.
John, you sound very passionate. I'm going to tell you.
We talk about another thing. We're always talking about. We need to. We've got drug problems, and every other commercial on TV is trying to sell some kind of dope, whether it's antidepressants or Viagra or what. But then we throw people in prison for doing drugs. So it's more about who owns the drug companies that manufacture the drugs and who makes money off of it than it is about the drugs, isn't it?
Well, it could be.
I mean, what is it? 2,000 people a year die of illegal drug use, and 200,000 people a year die of prescription drug use.
I think it's definitely overflowed the market. It's become a huge issue. It's become a huge issue. And John, I want to go back real quick, and I wanted to ask you something because I think you've thought about this obviously a lot. What do you think the church's role should be in as far as doing something? What do you think they should do?
About what?
Well, you're talking about.
I think people should practice religion rather than preach it, for one thing.
Okay.
So many people, they go to church on Sunday after they get out of the bar on Saturday night and go back Monday morning lying and cheating and doing whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of it's a show.
I see. So
the best sermon's a good example.
Right. Something that people do.
Right. Yeah. If you want to be a leader among men, show a good example.
Mm-hmm. And John, I couldn't agree with you more there. I think it becomes more about actions and less about words.
I think that I find it interesting. We hear a lot about this Christian nation kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder who Jesus would torture. Wonder which foreign country Jesus would invade. I mean,
I would probably say he did not. His goal here. We've
got what 50 million people in this country that are living basically without health care.
Mm-hmm.
They die because of that. There was a study by the AMA here a while back that said that was one of the main criterions determining whether you recovered or died from several diseases, was whether you had good preventative health care or health care at all.
John, I'm sorry, but you're kind of cutting out on there. I'm sorry about that. We did appreciate all your thoughts and insights. This is not cutting you off. It's just you were starting to fuzz out so bad that we were losing you. So thank you very much for your call. We appreciate your thoughts and insights. Other people, happy to respond to John's thoughts and ideas. Go ahead and give us a call. We're going to take a real quick break because we got to pay the bills.